Till 6 a.m. That'll be all right. I'm sure we'll get updates throughout the night. I'm sure you will.
Don't look behind you, Claude.
Chief, you doing all right? Chief, didn't hear me.
I know, but I'm going to get a call and yeah, yeah, like
Everybody got real quiet. Yeah. Must be time. Okay. Okay, thank you. Not yet. We'll call tonight's meeting of the Louisville City Council to order. We do have a quorum present. Mayor Euchert is ill tonight, so he's not here. We need to start with the invocation given by Councilman Thornhill and the pledge to the American and Texas flags by myself.
If you would bow your heads for a moment of silent prayer, please. Amen. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor to Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We've got a few proclamations tonight. If Coralie Leonard come up.
You want to get close with the name?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Okay. Yep, we have two on this one. First one is, whereas Keep America Beautiful's Great American Cleanup is the nation's largest community improvement program and takes place annually from March 1 through May 31. And whereas Keep America Beautiful, a national not-for-profit organization dedicated to helping individuals improve their community environment, has established the Great American Cleanup as its signature national effort for involving American citizens in environmental stewardship. Activities can include beautifying parks and recreation areas, cleaning waterways, handling recycling collections, picking up litter, removing graffiti, planting trees, and conducting educational programs and litter-free events. Anything that keeps our community beautiful. And whereas the Don't Mess with Texas Trash Off is the single largest one-day cleanup event in the state and serves as Texas's signature event for the Great American Cleanup, the nation's largest community improvement program. And whereas Keep Louisville Beautiful, an affiliate of Keep Texas Beautiful, in recognition of the Great American Cleanup, will host volunteer beautification and litter-free and cleanup projects and programs during March 1 through May 31, 2011. And whereas the City of Louisville is proud of its natural resources and its neighborhoods and seeks to protect and improve our community through the actions of citizens, schools, government, and businesses in working together. Now, therefore, I, Rudy Durham, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Louisville, do hereby proclaim March 1 through May 31, 2011, as Keep America Beautiful's Great American Cleanup, and proclaim April 2, 2011, as Don't Mess with Texas Trash Off Day, and call upon our citizens to join in activities that promote reasonable environmental stewardship and help us renew our commitment to building a better world today and for future generations. Thank you. Okay, do you have any comments about that?
First, I would like to say thank you on behalf of the Keep Louisville Beautiful volunteers, board of directors, and staff. It is really important to us to have this kind of support from you guys. It's 25 years we've been doing the spring cleanup here in Louisville, and we could not do it without the support of the council, city management, and city staff and departments. So thank you for all the support that you provide. Also, for those listening and everybody in the audience, we're inviting everybody to come out to the spring cleanup. It's on April 16th, and it's going to be at the Residential Convenience Center at 330 West Jones Street, and we're going to be cleaning from 9 a.m. till noon. There will be door prizes, free lunch, goodie bag, and T-shirts for everybody who signs up. Thank you.
Got another one here. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife, and whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas Louisville has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting ways, and whereas recognizing that forests provide habitats to about 2/3 of all species on Earth, and sustainable management of all types of forest is beneficial. 2011 has been declared the International Year of the Forest. Now, therefore, I, Rudy Durham, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Louisville, Texas, and on behalf of the Louisville City Council, do hereby proclaim Saturday, April 30th, 2011, as Arbor Day in the City of Louisville, and urge all citizens to support efforts to care for our trees and woodlands and support our city's community forestry program, and I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of present and future generations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will be celebrating the Arbor Day proclamation at the spring cleanup as well, and we will be giving out 4 trees for Louisville residents to win as prizes that they can plant. We also have an Adopt a Tree program that anybody is available to help us with, and it's free of charge, and we get more trees in the city and make Louisville a better place to live, work, and play. Thank you.
Let's cover it.
Good.
Whereas 23 million Americans are victims of crime each year, and of those, 5.2 million are victims of violent crime. And whereas a just society acknowledges crime's impact on individuals, families, and communities by ensuring that rights, resources, and services are available to help rebuild lives, and whereas victims' rights are a critical component of the promise of justice for all, the foundation of our system of justice in America. And whereas observing victims' rights and treating victims with dignity and respect serves the public interest by engaging victims in the justice system, inspiring respect for public authorities, and promoting confidence in the public safety. And whereas we must do better to ensure services are available for underserved segments of our population, including crime victims with disabilities, victims with mental illness, victims who are teenagers, victims who are elderly, victims in rural areas, and victims in communities of color. And whereas America recognizes that we make our homes, neighborhoods, and communities safer and stronger by serving victims of crime and ensure justice for all. Now, therefore, I, Rudy Durham, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Louisville, Texas, do hereby proclaim the week of April 10th through April 16th, 2011 as Denton County Crime Victims' Rights Week. Further, I urge all citizens and institutions, public and private, to support the establishment and enforcement of victim rights and services through participation in appropriate state and local activities during the designated week with the theme of Reshaping the Future, Honoring the Past.
Thank you. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Durham and Council, thank you very much for this proclamation. Normally, I would not be the one that would accept this. Our crime victims coordinator would normally do that, Detective Collins. She had a sudden death in the immediate family over the weekend, so I'm stepping in for her. However, I know if she were here, she would like everybody to put on their calendar a countywide celebration to honor our victims on April 12th at 6:30 p.m. at the County Courts Building, 1450 East McKinney. And that will be listed on our website, too. Thank you very much.
Need to have Kara and Cheryl come up. Hello there. Kara Cheryl was nominated Telecommunicator of the Month for her outstanding work at the 9/11 call taker for the City of Louisville. So, thank you. And we have a proclamation for you. Whereas thousands of dedicated public safety telecommunicators personnel serve citizens each day by answering telephone calls for police, fire, and emergency medical services, and by dispatching assistance as quickly as possible. And whereas public safety telecommunications personnel are the vital link between the people calling for help and the agencies which assist them, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are professionals who, behind the scenes and often unrecognized actions, are responsible for helping protect people and property. Now, therefore, I, Rudy Durham, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Louisville, Texas, do hereby proclaim the week of April 10th through April 16th, 2011 as National Telecommunicator Week in the City of Louisville, and urge all citizens to honor telecommunicators and to recognize the critical role they play in our city. Thank you. Got a picture here for you. Thank you. Got to say anything? Okay. Thank you. Okay. And Wygan? How you doing? Good. Whereas libraries provide free access to all, from books and online resources for families to library business centers, and help support entrepreneurship and retraining. Whereas our nation's school, academic, public, and special libraries make a difference in the lives of millions of Americans today more than ever. Whereas librarians are trained professionals helping people of all ages and backgrounds find and interpret the information they need to live, work, and learn in a challenging economy. Whereas libraries are helping level the playing field for job seekers, with 88% of public libraries providing access to job databases and other online resources. Whereas libraries are places of opportunity, providing programs that teach all forms of literacy, promoting continuing education, and encouraging lifelong learning. Whereas in times of economic hardship, Americans turn to and depend on their libraries and librarians. Whereas libraries, librarians, library workers, and supporters across America are celebrating National Library Week. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Rudy Durham, Mayor Pro Tem, City of Louisville, proclaim the week of April 10th through 16th, 2011 as National Library Week. And I encourage all residents to visit the library this week to take advantage of the wonderful library resources available at your library. Create your own story at the library. Thank you. Thank you. Any comments?
Mayor Pro Tem Durham and council members, over 1,000 citizens on average visit the Louisville Public Library every day. Through your support, the library is able to serve as a vital component of education in our community. Through the library's materials, multimedia materials, online resources, computer classes, literacy classes, and library services, we're able to support lifelong education and workforce development for all. Thank you.
The Louisville Public Library has been awarded the 2010 Achievement of Excellence in Libraries Award by the Texas Municipal Library Directors Association. Only 27 of the more than 500-plus libraries in the state of Texas received the 2010 award. The Louisville Public Library demonstrated excellence in 10 areas of library service. Areas in which the library was recognized include educational and cultural classes and events, literacy support for all ages, services to underserved population, summer reading classes, events and incentives for all ages, and partnerships with community organizations. Congratulations to the library competent staff for this reward. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to read this, it says, Texas Municipal Library Directors Association 2010 Achievement of Excellence in Libraries Award, presented to the Louisville Public Library. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Durham, we are very honored to be recognized for the service we give to the citizens of Louisville. We thank you for your support, and also without the excellent staff of the library and their commitment to education, would be unable to do this. Thank you again.
Next item is public hearings. Number 1, public hearing, consideration of an ordinance for a zone change request from agricultural open space to single-family residential R18 on 1.62 acres located at the northeast corner of Valley Parkway and Corporate Drive, further identified as Track 14 of the VR Sutton Abstract 1152, as requested by Denton County Church of Christ, for the property owner. The The applicant is proposing to construct a church at a future date. Churches are allowed in all zoning classifications, but must abide by the regulations within that zoning district. The AO zoning district requires a 100-foot setback for all property lines, making construction on this site quite limited. The proposed zoning classification of R18 is in keeping with the surrounding area of this block and allows greater setback flexibility for building placement on the site. The property will need to be platted and site planned, at which time drainage, runoff, and other site construction issues will be addressed. The P&Z Commission voted 5-0 in favor of the zone change request at their March 1, 2011 meeting. Recommendation is to approve the proposed ordinance as set forth in the caption above. Presentation, staff? Nothing?
There's Nika. Okay. I guess that's...
Okay. We have two here. Lonnie Shirley with the Denton County Church of Christ. And here's to answer any questions, if you have any. And they are in support, obviously. And R. Neil Ferguson does wish to speak in support.
My name is R. Neil Ferguson. I live at 1097 Holly Lane in Louisville. Mayor Pro Tem Durham, Councilman, I'll make my comments brief. I know I once upon a time had a reputation for being long-winded. I'll try to be short. I attended this P&Z meeting about this issue because I had concerns with parking. There was also Ms. Strayman that Councilman Guarena mentioned in the workshop that had concerns about drainage, and of course, my concerns about parking then would have made drainage potentially an even bigger problem. But David Salmon made a surprisingly well-prepared presentation to address those questions. I was very impressed with how ready he was on that issue. And as a result, I walked away satisfied that parking really is not a concern. And I talked with Ms. Strayman at length. By the way, I walked away with no concern about drainage. Talked with Ms. Strayman at length afterwards. She felt equally satisfied. One of the key points that David pointed out being that in the last flood, the peak of the floodwaters came 2 hours after the rains were over, or thereabouts. Consequently, the runoff issue for Timber Creek neighborhood really isn't created by the immediate runoff. It's created by upstream runoff coming downstream. So with those thoughts in mind, and although I've not been given Ms. Strayman's permission to represent her from my conversation with her, and with also having talked to over a dozen neighbors who live in that immediate area who all favored it, finding no one who did not favor this construction, I'd just simply like to add my approval to this decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the presenters?
Move to close public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion to close public hearing and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I'm sorry.
John.
The city secretary was asking who did what. I made the motion and seconded by Mr. Watts. Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Excuse me.
Aye. Oh, excuse me. I didn't read my notes.
This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Louisville, Texas, that amends the zoning ordinance of the City of Louisville, Texas, granting zoning changes on the 1.612-acre tract of land fully and completely described in the attached Exhibit A, ordering a change in the use of said property from agricultural open space district zoning to single-family residential R18 district zoning, correcting the official zoning map, preserving all other portions of the zoning ordinance, providing a clause relating to severability, determining that the public interest and general welfare demand a zoning change and amendment therein made, providing a penalty, and declaring an emergency.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 2, consideration of an ordinance for zone change request from single-family residential R75 district zoning to office district zoning on .274 acres located at the northwest corner of Bel Air Boulevard and Oakwood Lane, further identified as Track 92 of the E. Pickett Survey, Abstract 1014, as requested by William and Aaron Singleton, the property owner. Comments are the applicant is proposing to change the zoning of the subject property from single-family residential R75 to office district in order to construct a 1,200 to 1,500-foot office or convey the land to another party to do the same at a future date. The property is oddly shaped and more difficult to develop than a typical rectangular lot. The property is surrounded by a variety of zoning districts with single-family residential to the west, local commercial to the north and east, general business to the southeast, and multifamily 2 to the south. Office district is the most restrictive commercial zoning that the city provides. It does not allow for outdoor storage, display, or retail uses. The P&Z voted 4-1 in favor of the zone change request at their March 1, 2011 meeting. Staff recommendation is that the Council approve the proposed ordinance amending the Louisville City Code, Chapter 17, as set forth in the caption above. Is there any presentation by staff? No. Questions if needed. I do have 2 speakers. William Singleton is here. He's in support of this and does not wish to speak, but is available for questions. And the second is Mark Donnelly, does wish to speak and is in opposition. Come on forward, sir. You can give us your name and address for the record.
My name is Mark Donnelly. I live at 1138 Pebblebrook here in Louisville, which is right at in the neighborhood that the zoning change is coming into. It's basically one of the 2 entrances from that would be the north end of it. I'm against this because, this is already like a residential neighborhood, and there's a vacant, I don't know what you call it, a vacant a business already across the street. Should someone want to make that an office or something, it's already available. And let's see. And I also attended this the zoning planning and zoning meeting also, and at that time it was under the impression that the landowner wanted to put an office there. Well, shortly thereafter that meeting, the land went up for sale, which indicates to me that he doesn't want to put an office there. He wants to sell it at a higher rate. And, this is our neighborhood that we live there, and he doesn't even live in this neighborhood. So, it's my concern that he doesn't care what he's going to do with the traffic and congestion. Because, as I said, I live on Pebblebrook Street, and my street is actually the cut-through street that everybody uses to go from Bel Air to Fox. And that would, I believe, would just increase the traffic tremendously. And let's see, is that... I believe that's everything I had for it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions of the presenters? Motion. What do you got?
What do they want to build there, though? What was there a question? Is there a question about what he
It's
wants?
a zoning change request. That's all it is.
All right, I was just wondering what he was saying.
Move to close the public hearing.
Well, second.
Okay, we have a motion to close the public hearing by Councilman Watts, seconded by Councilman Thornhill. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Councilman Garina?
I don't have any comments. If no one else does, I move to approve per staff's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Councilman Garina, second by Councilman Watts. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying, just a second, yes, go ahead.
This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Louisville, Texas, that amends the zoning ordinance of the City of Louisville, Texas, granting zoning changes on the .274 acre tract of land fully and completely described in the attached Exhibit A, ordering a change in the use of said property from single-family residential R7.5 district zoning to office district zoning, correcting the official zoning map, preserving all other portions of the zoning ordinance, providing a clause relating to severability, determining that the public interest and general welfare demand a zoning change and amendment therein made, providing a penalty, and declaring an emergency.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item is the Visitors and Citizens Forum. I don't have any cards. Anybody have anything to speak on that? Okay. Next item is consent agenda. All of the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be self-explanatory by the council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests. For citizens to request removal of an item, a speaker card must be filled out and submitted to the city secretary. We have had a request to pull number 6. Anybody?
Move to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 6.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda except for number 6 by Councilman Watts and seconded by Councilman Garina. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 6, approval of a 2010-2011 Castle Hills Public Safety Agreement and authorization for the city manager to execute the agreement. We've had a request to table this until the next meeting.
Yeah, I'll make that motion to table the next meeting.
Okay? Second. We have a motion by Councilman Garina to table item number 6 to the next meeting, a second by Councilman Thornhill. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Item number 8, consideration of 4 variances to the Louisville City Code Section 6-103, Access Management, regarding driveways and declaration lanes, Section 6-92H, Sidewalks, and Section 6-123, Non-Residential Landscaping, related to the Louisville Animal Shelter and Adoption Center located on the north side of Valley Ridge Boulevard at the eastern terminus of the street as requested by city staff. Administrative comments. The subject site is a 4.15 acre tract of a total of 91.38 acre platted lot zoned public use owned by the city. The property is being site planned as Phase 1 of the platted lot for the purpose of constructing a new city animal shelter and adoption center. The property is currently vacant. Staff had reviewed and approved the engineering site plan for the animal shelter pending approval of 4 variances, including A, to waive the minimum driveway spacing requirement onto Valley Ridge Boulevard, B, to waive the requirement for the construction of a deceleration lane on Valley Ridge Boulevard, C, to waive the sidewalk requirement along Valley Ridge Boulevard, and D, to provide an alternate landscape plan. Recommendation is that the City Council approve the variances as set forth in the caption above. Mr. Solomon? Yes.
As indicated, we've got 4 variances to the Louisville City Code regarding the site plan for the City of Louisville Animal Shelter and Adoption Center. The site is located on Valley Ridge Boulevard at its very eastern terminus. On the location map, which is actually an excerpt from the thoroughfare plan, it shows in a dark red color. The green color is the city property. As mentioned in the workshop, Valley Ridge Boulevard ultimately will connect to the extension of Corporate Drive. Right now, Valley Ridge Boulevard ends at the east side of the animal shelter site, and Corporate Drive does not exist in this location at this time, and there's no immediate time frame for construction of that section of the road. The first 3 variances, the deceleration lane, the driveway spacing, and the sidewalk, really all have to do with the fact that we're at the very eastern terminus of Valley Ridge Boulevard, and the fact that the site is completely surrounded by undeveloped floodplain property, which means that there's no immediate plans, and it's also very unlikely that the property immediately adjacent to this site is going to be developed in the immediate future. This is a relatively small site, so it would be physically impossible to have the 2 driveways on the site plan. That's shown on the exhibit in your backup, and meet the 230-foot spacing that's normally required on Valley Ridge Boulevard because it's designated a major traffic carrier. In addition, because this is the eastern terminus and the park is immediately across the street, there would not be very much traffic at this very far end of the street for a long time. The deceleration lane is drawn on the exhibit, and you can see that if the deceleration lane were built today, there would have to be a physical extension of Valley Ridge Boulevard to even build the deceleration lane, and of course, because it is the eastern terminus, there is no westbound traffic at all at this location, and of course the deceleration lane would be for westbound traffic to slow down before entering the driveway. Again, the extension of Valley Ridge Boulevard is something that is way off in the future, and there is no time frame. Sidewalk along the frontage is typically required. Again, this is a very small piece of property that's completely surrounded on 3 sides by floodplain, and it's very unlikely that that sidewalk would ever be extended in the near future anyway. And ADA compliant access is provided to the site at the very far eastern terminus of Valley Ridge Boulevard, or at least it's proposed to be accessed in that manner from the sidewalk on the opposite side of Valley Ridge Boulevard. With regard to the landscaping, an alternate landscape plan is proposed as opposed to the normal landscaping that's normally required. What's being proposed is a xeriscape plan, which is a plan that would have plants that requires much less water than would typically be required for our standard landscape requirements in the General Development Ordinance. And staff is proposing that xeriscape around the animal shelter to conserve water and save some expense on providing maintenance to that landscape. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Council, have any questions?
Nope.
Okay.
No question. I will just comment for the record that I am completely unsurprised at how prepared and how well you delivered your presentation.
Councilman Thornhill?
With that comment, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve this item with the variances that are being requested.
Okay.
Second. Give it to him.
We have a motion by Councilman Thornhill, second by Councilman Watts to approve with the variances. And all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Motion carries unanimously. Number 9, consideration of requests for city in-kind support for the American Cancer Society Relay for Life event located at the Kilo LHS North Campus, 1301 Summit Avenue, as requested by Laura Patry, Event Chair, Southeast Denton County Relay for Life. Comments, 2011 Southeast Denton County Relay for Life event will be held from Friday, May 13th, 2011 at 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Saturday, May 14th, 2011. A request is being made to A, provide city in-kind support of 10 tents and staff time to set up and take down tents related to the event, and B, to waive any associated fees for the event, including fees for personnel to put up and take down tents. City Council approved the request for the event last year. Recommendation of staff is that the City Council consider the request for in-kind support for the American Cancer Society Relay for Life event as set forth in the caption above. Councilman Watts.
I move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion to approve and by Councilman Watts and a second by Councilman Garina. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And good luck with the Relay for Life. Item number 10, consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 7, Article 18, oil and gas drilling and production of the Louisville City Code by adding setback measurement requirements, adding clarification to 100% property owner approval, modifying 2 provisions regarding landscaping, adding language prohibiting mud and debris on public streets, modifying driveway and access road requirements, adding provisions regarding emission controls, and adding a requirement for an annual permit. Comments are after the January 5th, 2011 City Council meeting, staff was tasked with reviewing and developing proposed changes to the oil and gas ordinance. While review of the ordinance is continual and recommended modifications are as follows. A, adding clarification language for mandatory property owner notification of a public hearing. B, adding clarification language that only property owners with a protected use located within 500 feet shall be required to offer their approval. C, allowing for a delay in the installation of landscaping until 30 days following well completion when the site will diminish in size or other valid conditions, but for a period not to exceed 12 months from the date of permit issuance. D, allow for a contribution to the City Beautification Fund in lieu of the cost of landscaping when the pad site is remote and cannot be seen by the public. E, requiring the driveway and access roads be constructed from the public street to the pad site. F, making it a violation of the ordinance to deposit mud, dirt, and debris on the public streets. G, adding requirements to the emission control plan. And H, adding requirement for an annual operations permit per well. Recommendation is that the City Council approve the ordinance as set forth in the caption above. Okay. Let's first go with the presentation by the Fire Marshal.
Good evening, Council. The item before you is some proposed changes to our oil and gas ordinance. I'll try to be brief. Most of these changes are really just clarification or showing or adding clarification to practices we already perform today. There are a couple new measures I'll go into in just a minute. The last time we amended the oil and gas ordinance, we changed how we measured setback distances from it used to be measured from the center of the wellbore to a protected use. We had changed that to include not only measuring from the center of the wellbore, but also any equipment that could potentially cause harm to a protected use. So quite a few places are the proposed changes. It's just adding that language where it wasn't before. It's the same concept, and it'll provide consistency across the board on how we measure setbacks. Okay? The second item is really clarification of how we've been practicing it. When there's a protected use between 300 and 500 foot from a well, one of the provisions or requirements is that the owner of that protected use has to offer their approval of the or support of the permit. Okay? It didn't say protected owners. It just said if there is one, then the owners have to provide approval. Well, what we're saying is it's the protected owner has to. So in other words, if you've got a site that, let's say, has a dozen lots or properties within the 300 to 500 foot, only the person that has a protected use has to provide the approval. So if there's vacant lots, they don't need to provide their approval. It's just if there's a protected use. That's how we've interpreted it, and we're just in certain language to really clear that up so there is no misconceptions. The next two items have to do with the landscape buffer. We've had quite a few variance requests, so we've been directed to go ahead and actually include them into the ordinance language. We've approved these in the past. So basically, if we have a site where they want to delay the landscaping, our current ordinance requires that the landscape buffer goes in within 30 days of the beginning of pad site construction. But if they're going to reduce the site pad after they've drilled it and they're going to reduce it down in size, the operators have asked if they can delay the landscaping. So you've approved that variance in the past, and now we're just putting that right into the code so you won't have to have a variance request for something we've already done. And that'll be for no more than 12 months, that delay. And secondly, if there's a gas site that really isn't necessary to have a landscape buffer, it's remote, there's plenty of natural vegetation where really the landscape buffer really wouldn't serve any purpose for aesthetics or screening or anything like that, they can take the monies that they would have cost to install that landscaping and contribute it to the city's beautification fund. And again, that's a variance you've approved in the past. The next change is just adding some language in there that it would be a violation of the ordinance for any of their equipment to drag mud, dirt, and debris onto the roadways. So if it's a rainy day and mud goes out there, we can go out there and write violations to the ordinance. The next item.
I have a question about that one. Is that your department that would enforce that? Would it be the police department, or how do you plan on enforcing that?
The violation of the ordinance would be my department. I believe PD may have similar language, but I don't know for a fact, but I believe they do. But this makes it a violation of the oil and gas ordinance also. The next item speaks to private access roads to the gas site. And really we're mirroring gas ordinance language to GDO language. So what it is if we have a site that has a private drive, it's not right up against the city street, we're asking for specifications on that road. It needs to be at least 12 foot wide. It needs to be capable of supporting a fire truck, which is at least 75,000 pounds of GVW, and also that it be paved. So we can access it with our trucks, and it's an all-weather surface so the fire engines can get in if necessary. We had a small section where we have a manual shutoff valve located just inside the property, so if there is an emergency, we can hit this valve and shut down or basically seal the well off. It's just a rewording of that requirement that's already in there to mirror language that other cities are utilizing.
So who's going to be hitting that button?
It'd be the city emergency response folks.
Okay.
It's meant for our use. Potentially the operators that are on site, if they're there and there's an emergency and they're running out, they could hit that on their way out if there was some sort of catastrophic event going on.
It's nice to shut things off, but
Yeah.
I didn't.
It's kind of like if you look at gas stations, there's always a manual shut-off switch.
Same type of thing?
Same type of thing.
Okay.
And we wouldn't be using that unless we were fully trained on exactly what button to push and
What I
under
was
what
getting at right there. Okay,
circumstances.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chief Lasky and I have spoken on this thing. And
He's okay with it. I used to be a fireman. It was always like, really? We're going to shut something off? All right. Sounds good.
Again, it's already been in the ordinance, we're just rewording it. The next item is a new item, or actually it's adding a lot to an existing item. We require an emission control plan, but we didn't have any provisions in the ordinance of what that was. All right, so we're trying to narrow down what it is we want to see on these emission control plans. So a couple of the items that we're asking for on that plan would be the name, location, and who the operator is, a description of the program of how they are going to monitor for emissions controls and abide by best management practices, state and federal laws. What are they going to do? And then also a description of the maintenance program. How are they going to maintain their equipment on site? And that would be part of the plan that we would evaluate as part of the permitting process. The next provision under this section is to require a quarterly gas stream analysis report. The industry has to do this now in order for them to sell their gas and get it into the pipeline. They take a sample of the gas and they analyze it for all the compounds that are in there. All right, our consultant said it's a good idea for us to get that quarterly so we can see what's coming out of the ground, what chemicals and compounds are in there. If we find that there are levels of chemicals or compounds that could potentially have an adverse effect to the community, we could then impose additional measures on that site for emissions control monitoring. So again, it just tells us what's in the gas. Industry says there's nothing in there. This is a way of them proving it to us. The next item is the requirement for an after-action report. If we go out as a city to a reported leak at a gas facility or a gas well site, this just tells them what we want after the fact. We want to know the location and the date of the leak, what caused it, and what equipment was involved with it. I want an analysis of what the emissions are released, what did escape, how much did escape into the atmosphere, and any repair and remediation efforts so the potential for a leak in the future will be minimized. So it's after this happened, we want this information, or we'd like this information. And the last item under the emission control section is to require, or we would be authorized to require semi-annual air quality monitoring. The thought being that twice a year, we as a city could have an independent contractor go out there and test for the any emissions that could be in the air. There may or may not be any, but that's what they would prove. The cost of that would be borne by the operator through the next item, which I'm getting to. Okay? The last item that's new on here is to require an annual operations permit for each well site. Currently, we charge for the permitting and the drilling and completion of the wells, but we'll be going out there probably quarterly for a long time inspecting the sites, and we want to charge for that service. We do this now for all fire prevention inspections and all our commercial and apartment occupancies. So we figure we're going to do the same for the gas sites, and we're going to charge a permit fee for that. So it's instilling an annual permit for it. So that's basically it. A couple new items and just more clarity and consistency in the ordinance. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I have a couple. Just to clarify, because, the way we're doing distance now, it actually literally makes the wellhead or any device can make them further from where the protected use construction is, right?
It could, because if we just measured from the center of the well bore and it's on one end of the gas pad, and we're not going to measure from, say, the tank battery, which might be at the other end, the distances are still the same, 300, 500, or 800. But if it's at the other end, you're going to incorporate more lots and potentially more protected uses.
Gotcha.
And that concept was previously approved by
On that
council.
particular item, Mr. King, did you want to add anything to that? I think you'd sent me some. I barely read it.
Well, you had asked during the meeting about whether we were going to consider that before, and I'd indicated that we really hadn't planned on considering increasing those distances any further. So,
Yeah, I guess my concern was, would we be looking at it and how we're doing as far as distance go? I mean, how are we doing compared in industry-wise? Are we a little close? Are we a little far? Or
well, it's always a moving target, and we would continue to monitor that. In general, I would say that, as you've seen in the press, a lot of cities are moving toward higher distances, and over time, that would probably stand out even more against what our current requirements are. So certainly something we could always look at and could look at with council direction, or we would continue to monitor it without council direction just in case we were getting way out of whack with it.
If I know you're doing that, that's great. I think that's great. You mentioned about the delaying of the landscaping. I just want to make sure citizens know that's just a delay of the landscaping that would be there if they're going to resize down. If it's
correct, they'd still be required to do it, but after they reduce their pad site, that's when they would put in the landscape.
Yeah.
But no longer than 12 months.
And the last item, the permit fees, that is going to go to reimburse the city for your inspections,
Correct.
that kind of thing. Okay.
The cost to the city to provide those inspections.
That's on top of the fees they pay the city for well permits?
Yes. The permits for like the construction side of it, all the plan review, all the field inspections that we're doing, this is an ongoing, shall we call it, a maintenance inspection of the sites.
I just wanted to point out that those are the fees that are coming to the city, basically general fund to help pay for labor and the permits and stuff that normal fees would go to. Right?
Yes, sir.
Correct. That's all the questions I had. I just want to make sure those got answered for the people who kept asking me questions. So.
Okay. Does council have any more questions at this time? Okay.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
I'll just get cards. Sorry.
Got 3 cards here. First one, R. Neil Ferguson. Wishes to speak in support.
Arneal Ferguson, 1097 Holly Lane, Louisville. Again, gentlemen, good evening. Actually, I'm going to sidetrack for a second. I've decided to change surprise to pleased once again. So, David, I was pleased once again. With that behind us, I helped, along with other people and city staff, work on these changes after receiving council approval and direction on the issues. Obviously, for that reason, I support everything that you read before you now. And I'm actually going to leave that at that because I don't think there's anything else to add except that I do support everything that you've seen and I'm familiar with it. There was a question that Councilman Guerrero raised in the workshop about distances. There was actually it was a spreadsheet put together last year, probably about the middle of last year, looked at 21 different area cities without any particular eye towards did they support or not support any one distance or another, because we were looking at so many different variables, not just setbacks to equipment, but setbacks to water wells and the regulations. So it was, it would have been too hard to kind of pick and choose what would suit you, and especially with 21 towns. Compared to what exists in a number of those towns today, those distances in general have tended to increase. So Tim's statement to you is correct. And if council directs, I think it would be wise, if they're interested in having that table updated and also incorporate any additional area towns where it's basically not a great effort to collect the data. That's what limited it at 21, is towns that we could find data for and could tabulate. Then be happy to go back and do that, and then take a look at what's going on in a tabular form across the Metroplex and probably get a pretty good idea of how setbacks are moving. So that's my suggestion. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Steve Southwell does not wish to speak, but is in support of this. And Willie Williams does not wish to speak but is in support. Councilman Guarino.
If no one has any objections or any comments, move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Guarino and a second by Councilman Thornhill. Councilor?
This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Louisville, Texas, amending Chapter 7, Article 18, Oil and Gas Drilling and Production of the Louisville City Code by amending setback measurement and mandatory notification requirements, modifying mandatory property owner approval, amending the landscape requirements, prohibiting the deposit of mud, dirt, and debris on roadways, modifying driveway and access road requirements, establishing requirements for emission control reduction, instituting an annual permit, providing a savings clause, providing a repealer, providing for severability, providing a penalty, providing an effective date, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Number 11, consideration of an ordinance amending the Louisville City Code, Article 4, Parking Regulations, Section 15-126, prohibited parking on specific streets, amending the parking prohibition on Purnell Street to allow parking from Keeley Avenue to Hardy Street on Purnell Street. Comments are that staff received a request from the resident at 432 East Purnell Street to allow parking on Purnell in front of his home. The home fronts Purnell Street, and although the property is zoned commercial, the home has been and continues to be used as a residence. The city allows on-street parking for homes that front roads throughout the city. Staff survey of the location indicates that allowing on-street parking on this section of Purnell Street will not hinder traffic flow. The Transportation Board considered the item at its March 1, 2011 meeting and voted unanimously to recommend approval of their own recommendation to limit parking on the south side of Purnell from Hembry to Hardy Street. However, staff is in favor of allowing parking on both sides of Keeley Avenue to Hardy Street for purposes of clarity for signage and enforcement. Recommendation from staff is that the council approve the ordinance as set forth in the caption above. Councilman Thornhill.
Make a motion to approve as stated.
Okay. Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, a second by Councilman Watts. Council.
This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Louisville, Texas, amending Chapter 15, Article 4, Section 15-126 of the City Code, amending certain parking restrictions on Purnell Street, providing a penalty clause, providing for severability, providing a repealer, providing for an effective date, and declaring an emergency.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 12, consideration of an ordinance amending the Louisville City Code, Chapter 6, land development regulations by prohibiting the conversion, enclosure, or alteration of a garage for non-parking use in single-family dwellings as requested by Councilman Thornhill. Councilman Thornhill?
Thank you. In light of the mayor's absence tonight, and there only being 4 of us up here to vote, I'd like to postpone this till the next, or postpone it till the next meeting.
Okay. We have a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, a second by Councilman Watts. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So it'll be tabled to the next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Number 13, consideration of an ordinance amending the Louisville City Code, Chapter 11, signs relating to group signs, banner signs, sandwich board, and definitions. We also have a request to table this item.
Move to table item 13 to the next meeting.
If it'll fail, yeah.
Okay, we have a motion to table by Councilman Watts, a second by Councilman Guarino. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 14, second reading, consideration of an ordinance amending the Louisville City Code, Chapter 7, Article 14, seasonal temporary sales activities, by deleting Article 14 and adding new text to the City Code. Counselor.
This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Louisville, Texas, amending Chapter 7, Licenses and Business Regulations of the Louisville City Code by deleting the current language, in Article 14, Seasonal and Temporary Sales Activities, in its entirety, and replacing it with new language, providing for a repealer, providing for severability, providing a penalty, and declaring an effective, providing an effective date.
Thank you, Counselor. Item 15, consideration of appointment of board members to the Crime Control and Prevention District Temporary Board and the Fire Control, Prevention, and Emergency Medical Services District Temporary Board. Administrative comments. The City Council directed at the 2011 planning retreat that staff take the steps necessary to hold a November 2011 election for voter consideration of a 1/8% sales tax to support a crime control and prevention district and a 1/8% sales tax to support a fire control, prevention, and emergency medical services district. In the creation of both of these districts, state law requires the appointment of a temporary 7-member board that is responsible for the development and adoption of a 2-year fire crime control plan and a 2-year budget plan. Once these plans are approved by the boards, the temporary boards are then responsible for ordering the election. While each one of the districts must have a temporary board, staff is recommending that the same people be appointed to the 2 boards. A joint meeting of the 2 boards will then be held for development of the 2 plans. Staff recommendation is that the City Council appoint board members to the Crime Control and Prevention District Temporary Board and the Fire Control, Prevention, and Emergency Medical Services District Temporary Board. Councilman Watts.
I will make a motion that we approve the 7 citizens that were a part of our backup. I know we had 9, so this will be the 7, excluding former Mayor Carey and
Ms. Floyd.
Ms. Floyd. So the
if I can read off the...
Sure. Go ahead.
The 7 members that the council's nominating for this committee will be A.V. Rayburn, who used to work for Mary Denny and has been a longtime resident. Ken Judkins, a former City of Louisville board member. Bobby Mitchell, the current county commissioner and former mayor of Louisville. Jeff Peltier, board park chairman. Mike Pettigo, formerly with the Denton 911. Steve Griffin, former City of Louisville board member, and Alvin Turner, current City of Louisville board member. I'd also like to state that this is going to be a very tough committee for the next 2 months, and I really, really, really appreciate them coming and doing this to get this temporary committee coming up. Are we going to have any presentation on this at all, City Manager King?
I wasn't planning on doing
anything
in
I didn't know if you were
unless you
going
just
to.
want some clarification on anything.
I just want the citizens to know what this is about. You can just quickly explain it.
Well, as indicated in the preliminary comments, the role of the temporary board is to develop a budget and 2-year plan and to set the proposed sales tax rate, although that's somewhat already set. Once they do that, then their other responsibility is essentially, unusually speaking, to call the election. So it won't come back to council to call. The committee itself does that by state statute, and then their job is basically done at that point, other than any kind of support that they might want to provide in a campaign to get the vote out and vote for that sales tax if that's the way they want to go. They don't have to make that recommendation, but I think that's what the council's anticipating, so that would be their role.
Okay. We have a motion of Councilman Watts.
Thank you.
Is there a second? Second by Councilman Garina. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 16, consideration of declaring vacancies in place number 7 on the Community Development Block Grant Advisory Committee and place 3 on the Library Board, and consideration of appointments to fill the vacancies on the CDBG and Library Board. Comments are in accordance with the City Council's attendance policy. Sonny, sorry, Sonny, I can't say your last name, has missed 3 consecutive meetings during the months of January, February, and March of the CDBG and is automatically removed from membership on this committee. Danielle Johnson has missed 3 consecutive meetings during the months of January, February, and March of the Library Board and is automatically removed from the membership on this board. Recommendation is that the City Council consider declaring a vacancy in place number 7 of the CDBG and place 3 on the Library Board, and to consider appointments to fill the vacancies. Councilman Guarino.
I guess we do this in 2 parts. First, I'd like to move to accept the 2 openings, to declare a vacancy in 2 openings.
Okay.
One for the place 7 on CDBG and place 3 on the Library Board.
Can you put that in the form of a motion?
Yes.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Guarino and a second by Councilman Watts to declare a vacancy on the 2 places. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Go ahead.
On the second part, recommendations, I was kind of on the fence because we talked a little bit about postponing it till next meeting, but looking over these, if no one has any objections, I would like to suggest we recommend, Charita Bradley for the CDBG position. The other person that was on there, I think she's working evenings now, and that's why she wouldn't be able to do it. And then Judy Sizemore for the Library Board, for place 3 there in Library Board.
Okay.
Then motion.
Yeah, motion. That's my motion, yeah.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion with a motion by Councilman Guarino with a second by Councilman Watts for Ms. Bradley on the CDBG and Sizemore on the Library. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 17, consideration of an ordinance amending the Louisville City Code, Chapter 2, Article 8, Section 2-201, fee schedules related to solid waste rates. Administrative comments. On December 20th, 2010, Council directed staff to increase the recycling collection frequency to once per week. Based upon current waste management rates, the cost to increase recycling frequency will be 52 cents per month per customer. The current residential solid waste rate is $11.34 per customer per month. Therefore, the new rate will be $11.86 per month per customer. Since the proposed rate schedule is currently within the franchise agreement, amendment to the franchise agreement is not required. The change in frequency is scheduled to take effect April 1, 2011. The recommendation is that the City Council approve the ordinance as set forth in the caption above. Councilman Thornhill.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And a second by Councilman Guarino. Councilman.
This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Louisville, Texas, amending the Louisville City Code, Chapter 2, Article 8, Section 2-201, fee schedule for solid waste collection, providing a repealer, providing for severability, providing an effective date, and declaring an emergency.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. You have your reports. Nika. Belinda? No? Russ?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just to remind you guys of a couple of inter-row block parties coming up. It's that time of year again where we get out in our neighborhoods and our crime watch groups and help celebrate folks participating in that event and crime prevention. Next couple of Thursdays in a row, April 7th from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Villas of Coppell. Yes, that's in Louisville. It's a gated community just west of Ridgemont Drive. And then the following Thursday, April 14th from 5 to 7 at the intersection of Driftwood and Kingston. Again, all these things are weather permitting, and if we cancel them, I'll be sure to let you know, but we cordially invite council to come out and attend those events.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chief, what would the citizens expect to see when they get there?
That's a great question. Our NRO that's assigned to that area will speak to the Crime Watch coordinator. We hope to sign up new folks to participate in the Crime Watch group that's already established in those areas. And we began last year aligning these block parties with existing Crime Watch groups only to try to grow them and get folks to come out. We have great participation from the fire, the life safety clowns from the fire department. PALS comes out, and so we were have a pretty good time. It's kind of enjoyable, weather permitting again, but we hope to increase the participation in Crime Watch.
Thank you. got asked about the lake. I don't care, but the mayor does.
You can pass it along that we're about 1.5 feet low, and we're actually 1.5 feet lower than we were this time last year. So.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Eric? Steve? Councilman Green?
Just want to make sure people remember April 16th for the Keep Louisville Beautiful, to go help clean up and have some fun.
Yeah. Councilman what?
Just that last item, whatever your day of the week is, that they come to pick up recycling. They'll be doing that every week now. Had a lot of folks interested in that, and it's started this week. So, and I want to pass on a compliment to all the folks at the MCL Grand. Took my daughters to the ballet this weekend. It was very well done. My compliments to the Lake City's ballet. They did a great job, but very well. Facilities run very well.
Okay, good. City manager? David?
No, sir.
I had one comment on the this weekend, on Saturday, the Denton County Transportation Authority had their soft opening, I guess you could say, on their
Safety day.
safety meeting at their Old Town Station. I believe there were 400 to 500 people there. That's what I was told. Is that?
I didn't get a count.
Yeah, it was a good crowd. And there will be, if you look, there's two more coming up, one in Louisville and one in Denton, if anybody wants to go out. It's just come out and get acquainted with what trains are going to be operating temporarily on the tracks. And the closer we get to June, the more it's going to actually become a reality. So, and there's a lot of stuff for kids to do when they get there, and the fire departments were there, police department, and the county SWAT team was there, and park rangers were there also. So
The trains aren't providing service yet, but they're actually out there doing testing and getting ready to provide service.
and they started testing today, I believe, didn't they?
It was
On the tracks?
I can't
Sometime this
remember,
week.
Sometime this week, yeah.
But they actually they had two trains there that you could actually walk in. They are not the new ones that are going to be there. They're the temporary ones that they're borrowing from Trinity Rail Express.
And the next safety day is May 7th,
Okay.
Saturday from 10 to 1 that you were alluding
And
to.
they, Highland Village, Louisville Lake Station.
Correct.
And the next station we build in Highland Village will be called Louisville Station. Right?
Highland Village Lake.
Louisville Highland Village Lake Station, that's right. Okay. Okay. Counselor? City Secretary? Okay. Next item is closed session. In accordance with Texas Government Code Subchapter D, Sections 551.072, Real Estate Property Acquisition, and 2, Section 551.087, Economic Development, Deliberation regarding economic development negotiations. We're going to closed session. We'll reconvene into open session. Is there any action to take?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
The motion to adjourn and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.